हो गया लाइव।
Yes. So hello everybody. Start in just about 2 seconds. Hi Chaitanya, thank you for joining us. Before we begin, I would like to give a brief introduction about Chaitanya. Chaitanya is the founder of Mark Your Presence and has been working continuously to register first-time voters into the Indian democracy and has been helping the youth to voice their opinion in the political corridor. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. So Chaitanya has been the UN awardee for B Awards for his work in registering first-time voters, and he's been working since 2018 and has registered more than 16,000 voters till date and is still working for the same. I will share a short video that will give you an overview of what Chaitanya has done till date and how our discussion for today for building democracy is going to proceed. So just let me share my screen. I hope my screen is visible. Is the video visible? Hello?
Yes.
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 Okay, thank you. So it gives a very brief overview of what Chaitanya has done till date, and it is a vast experience, a continuous, consistent work. So over to you, Chaitanya, on this topic. I would like you to take over.
Thank you so much, Disha, for that beautiful video, and thank you for working around that. Also, thank you, Chetan, for calling me here. It means a lot. It is an honor and privilege to talk with every one of you today, and especially in this age of digital democracy, where I sit in my house today in Worli, Mumbai, and I'm talking to everyone in Pune. And this is what technology is, and I'm grateful that we've been able to do this. Before I go on to talk about a little bit about the organization and probably how I sort of managed to empower so many voters, let me throw in some statistics to every one of you. We have 900 million voters in India, out of which approximately 450 are young. 65% of our Indian population is young. And sadly, this population is not really interested or doesn't go out to vote as much as we should. Now, this is a fundamental problem to our democracy. Because when you look at it, we have 900 million voters, but how many parties do we have? We have approximately 2,698 parties. So the election is for us. It is for the people of India that is conducted. And India is an extremely diverse country. So no matter how many people we have, we're always going to fall short of representation. A sort of very good example to state that would be that we have 22 languages, official languages, and we have 4,131 MLAs in India, and as opposed to MPs, which are 543. Now, this is how diverse and large our representation is in India. But sadly, when it comes to sort of elections, young people are not really going out to vote. Now, going out to vote, according to me, is something that all of us should do. But sadly, in today's society, that's not something that is happening. Now, in this course of this sort of talk, I'll be talking exclusively about how we could be registered as a voter, how we need to be informed voters, and moreover, how we need to be educated citizens, because that is what builds a stronger democracy. Now, let me give you a sort of perspective in terms of accountability. Now, as I rightfully told you, we're approximately 2,698 parties. We have 8 national parties. We have about regional parties in every sort of state, which essentially play a pivotal role in trying to change the geopolitical discourse of that place. But let us now dive deep into sort of understanding what it means to be a voter. Now, essentially, when you go out to vote, we must know who the candidate is, where he's from, which party he belongs to, what he's done in the past. Now, why am I saying this? Because when you go out to vote, you need to be an informed citizen and you need to exactly know what your representative does. Now, when I talk about representation and when I talk about education, I don't mean where you got your education from. I don't mean how much general knowledge you know. I just mean the basic framework of the city. Now, what is the basic framework of the city and what is politics in a bird's eye view of your city? So, how many elections do we have? We have basic 3 elections, which are the most important. First one is the Lok Sabha elections, wherein we vote for our MPs. Second is the MLA elections, where we vote for a member of Legislative Assembly. And third is the corporation elections, where we vote for our local corporators, councillors, Nagar Sevaks, as we call them. These are the 3 main elections that we essentially need to vote for. We have also something called the member of Legislative Council. Now, that is an election very few people go out to vote, but it has in recent times, the importance of participating in an MLC has just increased because our current chief minister is an MLC candidate. So look at the importance of our sort of governance system. Now, when you go out to vote, or if at all you need a voter's ID, what do you technically need? You just need to be a citizen of this country. That's about it. And of course, 18 years of age. So if you're 18 years of age and you're a citizen of this country, you are eligible for a voter's ID. So that means once you register for a voter's ID, you can technically vote for life with that particular identity. And all it takes is 7.5 minutes. Now, our framework is of our sort of governance or administration, as we say, sort of is the same how we have in our schools and colleges. Now, when I meant MP, MLA, and corporation, these are the 3 layers. Now, what does this mean? Now, there will be an MP. Under every MP, there will be several MLAs who are member of Legislative Assembly. Under several MLAs will be our corporators, who are our councillors. So this framework needs to be understood, and this is no rocket science. It's as simple as I'm telling you right now. Now, let me put every one of you in shoes that you have been. Let's consider that you are probably studying in a class where you're probably studying mathematics and you have a problem in your class. If you have a problem with somebody in your class, who do you go to address it to? First, you will probably go to your class representative, or you will go to your class teacher. You will not go to your trustee. You will not go to your principal. You will address the problem at a level that you think it will be solved. And similar is politics. In today's time, we as young people feel that politics is complicated, politics is dirty, and hence we don't sort of put our minds into things that are extremely important for the well-being of our sort of surroundings. But it is as simple as how an educational institute runs. And once we understand that framework, everything will be much easier. Because if you address the problem to the correct person in terms of politics, your problem will be solved. But if you have a problem, let's consider you have a pothole on your street, and you can't call the chief minister of the state or the minister or the MP and say there's a pothole on your street and expect him to come and sort of fill the pothole. You have to approach the local councillor, and when you do that, your problem will be solved. So the question of accountability is extremely important amongst all of us, because when we have a problem, if we address it to the correct people, your problem would be solved. we as young people should not shy away from essentially keeping or holding people accountable, because that's the fundamental block of being in a democracy. Now, when we talk about accountability, that gets me to the process of registration. Now, what do you technically need to be a voter in India? You need to be an Indian citizen and you need to be above the age of 18. Now, how does the process, the application, and after you click on that application, there is something called a Form 6 that appears. And after you fill that form, you'll be a registered voter. It is as simple as making a Facebook account. It is as simple as making an Instagram account. It only takes 7.5 minutes to do something for your city, for your country, for your state. And what information is asked there? They ask you your name, they ask you your address, they ask you your parents' name, they ask you essentially your government proof. So you could give any government proof that you have, ranging from your driving license to Aadhaar card to passport to rent bill to gas bill, and none of which have to be on your name except the Aadhaar card and the driving license. Everything else could be in the name of your father, mother, or any place that you're living. Idea is the process of democracy and this digital age. Everything has become so simple that we really don't need to sort of go the extra mile. You don't need to go to the local councillor. You don't need to go to the local office. You could sit at home and be registered as a voter. A couple of things to keep in mind: that when you register for a voter's ID, there are a couple of forms. So don't get confused. There's a Form 6, which deals with your registration. There's a Form 8, which deals with your correction. Let's consider you have a voter's ID and you have to make a correction. Then you have the Form 8. Then there is something called Form 8A. So there are these several forms that you will encounter, but don't be confused. The only form that you essentially need to address or look at is the Form 6. This is the fundamental process of us registering anybody to vote. And as I rightfully told you, when we look at politics in sort of a bird eye view, we have to look at constituencies, assemblies, and wards. We should, at the end of this conversation, this sort of formatting should be fit in everyone's brain, because that's how sort of our governance or administration works. Having said that, when you go out to vote, you need to research, you need to study. For me, I feel voting is like an examination. It is absolutely a task wherein you have to study and go. If you don't, you're going to elect somebody that is probably not going to do good to the area that you live in. And then you'll cry for the next 5 years of your life, saying how bad your situation is, how bad your state is, how bad your district is. So might as well be informed. Now, let me give you another example that will probably relate to every one of us here. Imagine going to an examination and not studying the portion, not knowing which subject it is, not merely just knowing that there is an exam, and just going and attempting the paper. That is what the majority of today's generation is doing when it comes to voting. People are just going for an election, taking a picture with their finger and saying, we are inked, zhala ata, election zhala. This concept needs to change, because you can go and show your finger, you can represent yourself, you can enjoy the sort of festival of democracy, but you don't know who the candidate is, you don't know what his estimate price is, you don't know what charges have been put on him, and you are going out to vote. That is the sort of image that is happening in terms of election, and we need to change that. Because if we as the younger generation don't care about the elections, don't care about our representatives, then we will have no good future. We will have no person to represent us. We will have no person who understands us. Hence, when you go out to vote, when you essentially talk about electoral politics, when you talk about that of understanding who's your representative and what they do, make sure you have the added attempt. We as an organization will send you guides before the election. We'll send you how to register to vote. We'll spoon feed every single information to every one of you so that you are empowered as a voter and you basically understand the process. Now, being an educated or informed voter is not at all difficult. It is the most easiest thing to do in today's time. Because to be honest, in today's digital age, we are so tech savvy that we can spend hours on social media and understand things. So at the end of the day, I would just say that every sort of district, every sort of state has their own websites, has their own corporation websites. So all you have to do is simple search on your constituencies, on your assemblies, on your wards, and you will get all the information that you need. Now let's probably say that you guys live in the Pune cantonment area. All you have to say is representation. Who's the representation of Pune cantonment area? And you will get the answer. It is as simple as it is. You don't have to memorize it. All you have to technically do is search for the information and get it. It is no rocket science and is extremely easy. Now, sadly, as I rightfully pointed out, that we have 900 million voters, but 450 are young. And sadly, our population is not really going out and voting because 20 lakh people are eligible voters every year in Maharashtra. And not even 5 lakh or 4 lakh people register to vote. And this is the fundamental problem because we as young people, we feel that इसमें नहीं जाना है यार, इसमें politics है. Anybody tells you and talks about something political, you say, अरे उसमें politics है, मला अजिबात नको है. You know, that is the concept and that is the idea that we are generally wedded to. And that is the fundamental problem of today's generation, all of us, that we put politics and politicians at arm's length and say, असू द्या बाबा, काहीच फरक पडत नाही. And we forget that when we are doing that, we are surrounded by politics. There is not one field, not one area in this world that does not have politics. Your peer circle, there is politics. Your school, there is politics. Between the from the educational institute to the principal to the management, every single where there is politics. So humans are political beings, and we must recognize that. So instead of putting people at arm's length and saying, we don't want to get into this, it's time we embrace it. We say, I know there's politics. Everywhere there's politics. Whether I want a job, whether I want to do well in life, whether I want to sort of fit into a circle, whether I want to become the principal, everywhere you have to angle yourself, you have to be political. People are not going to be extremely friendly. So there is going to be this factor of sort of politics everywhere. It's time we embrace it as a larger generation. It's time we say that, what, I know there's politics, and so what, I'm going to talk about it. It's time we get democracy to our table. It is time we talk about politics at home. And I can't expect all of you to suddenly get into this habit of going out to vote, being informed citizens. But I sort of want you to start trying. Start with the smallest things. Vote for the smallest things on your dinner table. Talk about the smallest things with your parents. Discuss politics with your parents. Understand ideologies. Understand what is a left wing. Understand what is a right wing. What is a center left. Understand how policies affect you. Because trust me, this country is indirectly run by taxpayers. That is our parents. That is every one of us who pays taxes, whether it's indirect or direct. Or everything that happens around you is not free. The government doesn't just get the money from elsewhere, from other countries. It's our money. The roads get clean, the roads get done well. Whose money is that? We must realize today that this is our election. It is not elections. It is our election. This is not our. This is not ours. This is not our. This is not a city. It's our city. When we go on a road, this is not a road, this is our road. We must make everything ours. And when we are wedded to the idea or the notion that everything around us is actually ours, as much as what's there in our home, we can create change. We need to actually, as a younger generation, be together in this. And I'm not the only person that is saying this. Socrates said it, Plato said it, Aristotle said it, and all the political thinkers in the world who've studied political science have all said this, that if collectively driven people who are well educated and well informed come together, there is no government, there is no area, there is nobody that can stop us. See, being activists and rebels are two different things, but being informed as a citizen is extremely important. So my sort of takeaway from what I've said is that please don't get your information from Instagram. Please don't get your information from Snapchat. Please don't get your information from WhatsApp and Facebook. Please read. Every one of you is in the 10th, 11th, and 12th. This age is extremely crucial. Build the habit of reading. Build the habit of reading the paper. It is 18 pages. Flip through it. See how you would be empowered in the day when you pick a newspaper in the morning and you just go through it. Some papers that I think you should especially read are Indian Express, The Hindu, and Times of India. If you read these three papers every day, you are an informed citizen. Please don't download There are some apps on the sort of Play Store which essentially summarize news in 60 words and make a pressy out of it. Please don't do any mockery of news. Take out time in today's day and age to essentially analyze information, because trust me, you are always going to be having examinations. You're always going to be studying till probably you finalize on a proper job. You're going to be having examinations. I have just finished my examinations in law, and I know for a fact that I'm going to have several more entrance exams to come. And one extremely important way of sort of acing any sort of entrance exam is for us to essentially read the paper, because logical reasoning and general knowledge is something that flows through papers, especially like Hindu and Indian Express. So one extremely important takeaway from this is that please be informed, and information is there. It is available to you. All you have to do is just open the papers and read. Now, when we talk about the right, you may wonder where it comes from. So our Constitution and the People's Representation Act are the two essential bodies that will cover everything about your voting rights and your habits. So if you have any questions that sort of pertain to sort of elections and how they're conducted, then it is written in the People's Representation Act. And if you have any questions dealing to your right to vote, it is in the Constitution. Let me rightfully point out the Constitution says that it is our right to either vote or abstain from voting. So nobody can force you. It is a voluntary process that you can actively participate. But to reduce this passive suppression of whichever sort of community, we need to come out and vote in large numbers. And for that, you need to fall in love with politics. It is not something that we need to speak about during elections. It is something that we need to speak about every day. We must debate, discuss, and talk. Uh, I know when we have strong ideology, people who support a left, right, or a center wing, it could lead to a sort of a tiff wherein you have a Congress, you have a BJP, and both fight and have a conflict between each other. But that is what society is, right? We need to sort of discuss, analyze, and see, okay, your point is good, your point is good. Make it a generalized topic, like how you talk about anything. How would you talk about a football match? We had an amazing match last night. How would you talk about India, Pakistan, or how do you talk about India, England? Exactly like that, we need to start generalizing politics. Don't think of politics as something you can't enter. Don't think of politics that is something foreign. Think of it that it is something that is your own, which you can enter, which you can capitalize, which you can make your own. So these points are extremely important. Let me just give you that a sort of illustration of India. So India is originated by ancient civilization, united by ethnic history, but more importantly, sustained by our diverse and secular culture. And I think we as young people must recognize this thought, must nurture this thought, and moreover, support this ideology. Because India was built on pillars of being sort of a beacon of light, and we must replicate that model. Because if we, as the younger generation, as I rightfully said, don't care, then there will be no bright future. Because it's not about the next election, it's about the next generation. If we, as young people today, fail in going out there and showing that we know what it is, then it's going to be extremely difficult. Because as people rightfully point out, there is development happening on one end and there is destruction happening on the other. Only we would know the importance of what sort of favors or gardens us in the future. Having said that, that sets the base of us essentially understanding the part of which you are an informed voter, the part in which you need to register for a voter's ID. Now let me move on to what I've been doing in Mark Your Presence, and then we could sort of blend into questions. So essentially, Mark Your Presence wasn't founded as an organization. It was founded as an idea and a thought that I thought that we don't have informed voters, we don't have registered voters. So let me try and sort of generalize this topic. Hence, I started this mission. So what started as a small act of helping a couple of my friends led to a large movement. And I had no anticipation that it will lead to a movement. It was consistently every day working tirelessly without expecting anything that has led to this. To be honest, I never knew there was a UN award at all. I never knew there were state awards at all. I never knew that you get awarded if you do this sort of work at all. And I never kept that in mind It is all that happen in due course of time. And I think that is what we should keep in mind. We should never start something keeping in mind that you will get an award for something. That is the wrong way of approaching. In fact, I would say that if you think of that sort, if you think that I'm doing this for the award, you will probably not get it. Because the people that actually select the awards are very careful in the kind of people that they do. They even sort of do a background checkup on what sort of work you've been doing. So we must not aspire to work for society to win an award, but we should tirelessly work towards doing things. Now, every one of you is young, every one of you has a lot of time ahead. So I would suggest that start something. Doesn't matter what you start, it could be the smallest thing. You think about a problem, you think you want to solve it, work around it. How difficult it is in today's day and age to make an organization. It is extremely simple to start a project. All you have to do is go on Instagram, name a project, and start talking about it. That's how easy it has become for all of us. The generation that our parents belong to, there was no social media presence to do anything. So if you had to register an organization and start something, you had to do the paperwork first, you had to get directors on board. It was such a difficult task. But in today's day and age, we have no right to complain. We can take our cameras out and start speaking about a topic, and it could probably be viral if it makes sense to a larger amount of people. So the idea is that every one of you should start something. Now, of course, ideas don't generally flow into everybody's minds suddenly. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes extremely this sort of reading. Hence, I told you on the first page that you need to start reading the paper, because that's where you see problems. And I'm the kind of person that if I see a problem and I think I can solve it, I will solve it. I will not care how difficult it is. I will not care the money involved in this. I will work towards it day and night, not sleep till 4 o'clock in the morning, but I will go and solve the problem. And that is what every one of us has to do, because this is the time we need to hustle. This is the time we need to struggle, because that is the only way we can be successful. You need to keep a goal to be successful in life. You need to keep a goal. You can keep the best ambitions that you want to probably be the CEO of this company, and don't shy away from that. People may laugh at you about your goals, but trust me, pay no heed to anybody. There was an extremely touching poem. I don't know if some of you read it. It was by Rudyard Kipling, If, where he said, if you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. If you can wait and not be tired of waiting, don't deal in lies, don't look too good, nor talk too wise. So look at the words. And when you study, don't study it just because you have to pass an exam. Don't study it because you've been forced to. Try and embed this habit of liking the subject. Because if you do that, I know it's difficult. I know it's difficult. I have been in the same position. In fact, I was in the position 3 days ago, because I have just sort of completed, I'm in my final year of law and I've just completed my examination. So I know, I understand we're in the same boat. But the more you like the subject, the more you read the subject, the more you sort of start liking the way you read. And then it being studying that after 1:30 and 2 does not become a task. Then you are like, okay, I like to read this. It is imparting some knowledge. So on that front, I think all of you should start brainstorming about things, start thinking about things, think about some good ideas. And I am there. I don't say this because I'm a speaker today. Any one of you would have any sort of problems, would wants to build something of their own and is driven enough to do it and is willing to work towards it, my organization will help you. My organization will help you on each step without expecting anything from you. We are a non-profit organization, so the question of sort of monetizing does not come into place. We'll help you free of cost. I'll attend your calls and make sure that what you build will be strong. But I need you to participate. I need you to sort of be driven enough to create that change, because trust me, there is a time when you start something and then there is a 6 months tenure. If you don't work hard in those 6 months, your organization is not going to do well, because starting an organization is not a joke. It is like a company, or it is, I would say, I look at it and say it's like a child. At least a child in time, due to nature and nurture, learns certain things, adapts to certain things, because that's biological. But an organization, doesn't really adapt till you feel it, doesn't really change till you want it. So starting an organization is difficult, but it can build your road. I did not start an organization of Mark Your Presence immediately. It's something that happened. We registered five voters, we registered 15, we registered 20, 30, 40, went to 500, went to 300, sorry, first, then 500. Then I went and met the election commission. Then I did 1,000, then I did 5,000, then I did 7, then 8, then I was stuck at 9 for some time, then 10,000, then I was stuck on 12,000, now I'm on 16, and I will continue to do it as much. So what you need to do is start something. I think that is the most important thing. And I know you will have a zillion things to do, whether it's your mathematics or whether it's a science or it's an entrance exam. But when you're young, you can create a change. When you're young, you have other things to do. Because trust me, when you sort of cross 19, 20, and you become 21 and so on and so forth, the responsibilities change. Now your responsibility is to study and get marks. The responsibilities will change to sort of finding a job and sort of getting an X amount of salary every month, working towards that. Those pressures are not in your hands. You cannot get a job immediately. Like it is upon the company and the person that's hiring you, but you can get marks. You can study well. You can start something of your own because everything that you're doing right now is in your hands. So my takeaway is read extensively, start something, think about something. Now, when I mean start, don't suddenly just take my word for granted and say, tomorrow I feel this is not good, so I'll start something. No, it's logically you have to build towards it. You have to think about it. You have to do trial and error. You have to go slow, but start thinking about it. All of you have the potential to change the world. All of you can shake the world in the way that you are probably doing right now, a little more. You can sit at home and do it. And I am an example of this, that I have registered voters sitting at home and try to pick topics that generally garden more support, not topics like what I have taken, because it's extremely difficult and to garden support from people when it comes to politics, because large amount of people are not interested. So it becomes a very difficult thing to do at your young age. To read about the People's Representation Act, to read about the Constitution becomes a little complicated. And generally try and start something that links to your profession. I'm studying law. This is directly interrelated to what I'm doing. So if you're probably studying something in mathematics, think out of the box. Think of how you could probably help some people understand certain things. Work on things that will help you and your profession go. So when you're joining your profession or when you've decided to do a particular task, your organization or your project or your mission is not a liability for you. So circumstances will build a good initiative, and this is sort of the pandemic. A lot of people are suffering, a lot of people have problems. So I'm sure all of you can come up with good solutions to sort of help these people in this pandemic as well. So think out of the box, use your privilege, for everybody that is privileged, to essentially try and make somebody's life a little better, or to improve that of someone's life in a different way, and do it without expecting anything. If you're doing social work, please don't do it with any expectations. Please don't do it keeping any award in mind. Neither will you be successful if you do that, nor will you have the satisfaction that, if you work towards something without doing it. When I got the UN award, I was extremely happy, and all the other awards that I've got, because in anticipation, I feel that I never thought that I'll get the award. I never angled to get the award. So I felt happy when I got it. But when you work extensively just for that award and then you don't win it, you'll be in disappointment. And even if you win it, you'll be like, I paved my way to this award. And I personally feel that that wouldn't be right to do. So think out of the box, think of something nice. And trust me, we as Indians have the power to do anything. And we've seen that in the past of how Indians have extensively done well moving abroad. And try to study in India, try to excel in India. I think that is what is important. We need our talented people of Maharashtra to stay in Maharashtra, to benefit this state. We're a developing country. We may not be in like the likes of United States of America or London, but in terms of, United Kingdom, sorry, but essentially we are a country that is striving to be one of the best in the future. We are a country that has given bright minds who have taken great positions in sort of foreign companies. So it's time we contribute to our country and not leave it and go abroad to settle and find a comfortable life there, but that of hustle and create a space for us here. Because we've seen a large amount of young people, especially around your age, who only aspire to go abroad and study. But studying abroad is fine, and then settling there, because the sort of price that we have to pay to get into universities there itself is so much. And my takeaway to every one of you who's essentially sort of planning to go abroad, if there is a course that you are doing that is in India, please study here. There are good universities in Pune. There are good universities in Mumbai, and the private universities are doing extensively well in terms of driving new change. So try and join those universities and build a stronger block for our democracy. Thank you. I'm open to any questions from any one of you on anything linked to anything that I've said, or any other thing that if you want to ask me about the organization, about your right to vote, about sort of elections, about any particular thing that you want to, I'm open to answering any one of them. Any of them, sorry.
Chaitanya, I had two questions. One is regarding the United Nations Award. So if you can tell
Can
more.
I know who's speaking?
Chetan.
Okay.
So if you can tell more about, what United Nations is and how you won that award, and each year, they take in applications for new people coming in. These awards are given each year. So if someone else in the group is doing some good work, then how they can go ahead with it. And how was your experience of winning an award from UN?
Thank you for that question. There's a point I forgot to essentially address. So it was really, I was out of words, in fact, because to be honest, that 2020, no matter who we are, where we are, has been difficult for every one of us. Either it has been emotional, financial, or it is in whatever way we've not been able to sort of do our level best. So getting this award in these uncertain or unprecedented times, it was extremely sort of emotional, because I felt really, really nice that I've been recognized by such a big organization. So the United Nations program, essentially the UNV and the UNDP, have this program running wherein they essentially identify change makers, social makers, or anybody that is sort of creating an impact in society and is sort of worked extensively hard to create something. Now, the criteria of these awards, are something that you could Google and check, but essentially you need to have about 12 months, a minimum of 12 months, Chetan, if I'm not wrong, or is it 24 months?
No, 12 months, like for the year.
12 months work especially, and it should be consistent, and it should be something that sort of leads to a good outcome. So that is the sort of criteria in general. But this is a collaborative effort of the United Nations Volunteer Program and UNDP. And every year they have different nodal agencies. This time they had UNDP, last time they had UNEP. They have different sort of UN nodal agencies that sort of join the program, because it's a United Nations award which is given. And they're ideally looking for young, driven people who are creating substantial change in society. And we've had the alumni, and the work that everyone has done is extremely good. And then you could write to them, they will help you on projects and all sort of things. So it's an extremely great honor to be part of that sort of batch of 2020, of having the award with such driven people. Moreover, you build a connect with a large amount of people, especially in UNV, and you sort of connect with a lot of people where you can probably help each other in some way or the other in life. So don't angle for the award. Don't think about the award. Think about the work. Award will come if it has to come. If it doesn't come, nobody in society can give you an award and say validation of work. I know of people that have worked extensively and never got an award. And I've worked so hard and so nice, but doesn't really matter. See, award just gives you a recognition and sort of a validation. But that shouldn't be your end goal, because when you impact lives and you get an award, it's two different things. That award is not going to impact anybody's life, and when you're into social work, it's all about impacting other people's life. So personal satisfaction and gratitude is needed, no doubt, but don't go behind the award. If you've done great work, if you've sort of thought of something nice, if you've actually helped society, you will actually get it.
We have another question from a student. He says that I have seen many photos of old constitution in which there was no word of secularism. Is it true that it was added later on? And what benefits do we really get because of being secular? Does it contributes to our country's development?
Absolutely. Who asked? Who has asked this question?
Um, it's Chirag.
Okay. So, Chirag, what you've asked is extremely good question, because it's right. The very character of our constitution is secular. So the debaters of the constitution, when they were making the constitution, now the chief architect of the constitution was B.N. Rao, who essentially was the advisor and backbone. And of course, the person that was making or sort of put everything together was, of course, Ambedkar ji. But essentially, in the discussions, people have stood up and said that we don't need the word constitution because the very character of India in its own sense is sort of secular. So why do we need the word? It was added during Indira Gandhi's time, way later on. So absolutely right. And the debaters of the constitution have gone on record to extensively talk about this. And if you analyze the sort of discussions that have happened during the framing of the constitution, this has been spoken about, and not all of them. All of these leaders have sort of collectively spoken about this factor of secularism not being added, because they thought that why do we need to add a character in the constitution when our very ideology is secular, and but as you know that the constitution is a framework and it's adapted from different countries, and essentially when you look at our constitution, if you've read, we have 470 sort of articles and we have 23 parts. So if you sort of read the constitution in entirety, which I have, you'll understand how it's evolved and how it's taken from places and how there are loopholes always in the constitution. So you're absolutely right, it was added later on.
If you have any questions in your DM, Chaitanya, you can check that as well, because students can directly write questions in the DM. अगर इसमें कुछ आता है तो I'll get back to you. Okay, so moving on, the next thing that we'll cover, I mean, we'll conclude with this, the thing that we discussed, Chaitanya. So
I
for
think
all this,
we have some. I'm sorry, I missed on the questions. There are some interesting questions, Chetan. If you want to.
Yeah, you can take this.
Okay, Abhishek has said that he can create awareness about cybersecurity. Yes, Abhishek, why don't you think about a good plan and write to me? I'll be happy to help you out, channelize this. So, Divyesh Puranik, yes, absolutely right. I think we as an organization do it as well. We basically, I mean, you guys, we'll probably take your email IDs after the session, whoever has joined and whoever has registered, and we'll add you on our role wherein we just keep informing you about the political things that happen. What do you need to know as a voter? We don't go into this Congress, BJP, Aam Aadmi Party, Samajwadi Party, Shiv Sena. We don't, because that's up to you to decide who you want to vote for. But we want to tell you about the candidates. We want to tell you about what it is to be an informed voter. So we'll take your email IDs and we will send you all an email. If you want to continue on the role, you could sort of send us an email that you would want to. People that don't want to can possibly say that they don't want to. We are okay to both. Okay, we have Anushka Gokhale who says, but at the same time, it's very. Thank you so much. Let me just read the whole question. Chetan, if you can check the other questions, I'm just reading Anushka's question. Social work is one of the most noblest jobs, but at the same time, it is very important, especially for someone who is just getting into it. You seem to be very
Chaitanya, if you could read the students' question, because I think they are writing to you in your DM, so it's not visible to every one of us. So if you could,
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry.
yeah.
So, okay, I'll just read Anushka's question because I think she's written quite a lot and it is a nice question. As social work is one of the noblest, but at the same time, it is very infuriating, especially for someone who is just getting into it. You seem to be very young when you started, and that is probably the period when we are the most impatient. Okay, so what question is that? Were there times when you felt like you wanted to give up or do something else? And if so, what is that? You okay? Wonderful. Sorry, I was just trying to zoom in. Yes, there are going to be times. Nothing in life is easy. Nobody is going to come and spoon feed information. Nobody is going to help you. Don't keep any expectations on anybody. When I mean anybody, I mean sister, brother, parents, grandparents. Nobody. In your life, you're on your own. Somebody comes and helps you, hug them, give them a smile. Think you're very grateful and privileged. Giving up factor will come to you 10 times, will come to you every day if things don't go well. See, because in India, you do one thing, there are 100 people. If you stop doing one thing, there are 100 people who are willing to take your position. It's not, nobody here is, that is why people go abroad and settle there. That's why people go, it's easier. No? Life is easier where there's less competition and less people. It's difficult here in India to start anything, to do anything. At the same time, you're on an advantage because like I said, somebody can start something on cybersecurity, somebody can start something on clothes and fashion, you can start something on sort of maths, you can start something on science, and there are people who listen to you, there are people who need your help. That doesn't happen in all the other countries. So use your population as your greatest advantage. Very nice question, Anushka. Thank you so much for typing 7-8 lines. Means a lot to me. Can Prathamesh Kadam, please can you tell Act 2021? What Act 2021? Prathamesh, you can just reply to that in a while. Can single party system in India work out? No. The very founders of this constitution said that we have an asymmetrical sort of setup. What does asymmetrical setup mean? That one state has more powers more than other, and one state has more leverage over the other. That's why we have union territories and we have states. And this essentially happened during sort of partition. A lot of states had different powers, and we live by that notion. And one party system will never work. In India, we have to have, because we have a diverse culture, right? Like I rightfully said, India is originated by an ancient civilization, united by our ethnic history, but more importantly, sustained by a secular and diverse culture. That's what we are. So no, we become like China then if we are one party system, which I don't support in a democracy. Tlaya has written, so what does it mean? What does it mean by being well informed about representation? See, being well informed, no rocket science. It's in entirety what it means. Knowing who the candidate is, knowing what his background is, knowing which education he's got or she's got, or whatever representation anybody wants to use. Essentially knowing how would you essentially analyze a school and college? See, everything is very simple in politics. When you go to a school or a college or a education institute or to study, very good example I'll give to every one of you. When you select to go to a tuition class or an academic class, what do you check? Who the teacher is, what is their background, how many people have topped in the past, what is their score percentage? Don't you check all that? If you don't check, your parents will check. Similar is politics. You need to know everything about that person that is going to contest in the area, because you don't have to fold your hands and ask him to do stuff for you. You have to get it done from him. He's somebody who should pick up your call at 2 o'clock also and get your work done. At the same time, we should not be extremely ambitious and throw responsibility at them whenever we have and throw muck. We should look at them as representations. We should look at them like how we look at our principal. But at the same time, if we go to our principal for any work, won't she solve it for us? She will solve it. similarly should be our representation. So look at them as educational institute people. Look at them as the same framework. They are no different. Just that they're in public life and get more attention. Was it really due to the left wing that our country was divided? The Akhand Bharat broke? Not really, to be honest. India, as I told you, is so diverse that we have so many parties, we have so much framework that it becomes very difficult to say that the left or the right essentially were involved in one notion. It is a collective notion of a uh, state party, probably center party, that have collectively come together, that has led to whatever it has.
Chaitanya, there's one more question. Who is your role model and who inspires you the most to do more? It's asked by Soham.
Yeah. Okay. Just remind me that I have. Did you face these problems related to political pressure and other problems? Chetan, just remind me if I forget to answer that. Yeah. What did you say? Can you please repeat the question, Chetan?
Who is your role model and who inspires you the most to do more?
So essentially, my role models are Lokmanya Tilak, Mahatma Gandhi, and Subhash Chandra Bose. These are the people that I look up to, because all these people are people that essentially did what sort of I'm doing in my professional career in terms of law. Other than that, I'm too small to even talk what they did. But I'm inspired by what they did. I think what they did back then, I don't think that if we have as young people half the zeal how much these people had, I think all of us will take over. I mean, India would be the sort of best country to be, because look at it. All of them came here. The Brits came here. The French came here. The Dutch came here. All of them came here, were here, enjoyed here, lived here, created a society here, took money from here, earned from here. So, with that notion keeping in mind, there must be something in this land, right, that brings about great people. So, having said that, get inspired by Lokmanya Tilak's writing, his work as a lawyer, get inspired by Subhash Chandra Bose sort of policies of how he took things forward, how he sort of built an army, a forward-thinking army where women were in charge. I mean, look at the thinking back in the early 90s, and Mahatma Gandhi, shaking the world with a smile today. In today's time, nobody in the world, when they talk about sort of civil disobedience and non-violence, everybody talks about Mahatma Gandhi. There may be wings in India that may not like him, but pay no heed to them, because at the end of the day, the world recognizes what you've done. So Mahatma Gandhi there, and several others, but these were the most important people. Okay, let's go back to that question which says that no, in fact, I did not face any political pressure because we registered as an NPO, a non-profit. Of course, we got a lot of calls from political parties to help them and their representatives sometimes. But we chose not to do that because I believe my loyalty is with the voters and with the people, and not with the politicians when it comes to registering voters. So I would never support any sort of political party or ideology. I would be as apolitical as you can see. I'll register thousands of Congress voters, thousands of BJP voters, thousands of Aam Aadmi Party voters, Samajwadi Party, Communist Party, and it doesn't matter for me who I vote for and who I register and who they vote for. What matters to me is this: what I told you in the last 20 minutes, that you are informed. I have one doubt. Support from people.
So he means ki, how do you get support from people to help you in this initiative? How did you started?
So, like this, how I'm talking to you. I go to every school and college and talk to students, spend my time understanding them, trying to analyze information, being there for them, creating an extreme like sort of network with the bodies of Mumbai is an extremely difficult job to do, because as I told you, politics is Talking about politics is not easy. It is not something I would advise any one of you, because it is very difficult to convince somebody that is not interested. It's like saying there are some people that don't like mathematics, and there are large amount of people who are like that. You cannot convince them to like mathematics. Like similar is politics. You cannot convince everybody. So that's why I don't convince people to that of fall in love. I try to say things that could probably get them more involved.
There's one more question. There's a student who says that I want to become an actor, and he is really passionate about it, and he knows that he wants to be it. But right now he's really completely blank about it. So if you can just tell him how he should go ahead in this kind of a scenario.
See, I think if you want to be an actor, you should be an actor. You should do what you love, to be honest, but also make sure that what is your background when it comes to this, because acting as a profession is a business. It is moreover looked as a liberal art sort of profession, but at the end of the day, it's business. The producer will take you if he thinks there is talent and money coming in through you. If that is not happening, it's very difficult that a producer would take, or a director, or whatever, however the framework is, because generally they need to earn money, right? It's distribution. So before you get into the sort of analyzing it, try and understand how a production house works, how a director works, how a script writer works. Understand all the roles that sort of will build you to be an actor, and then probably see best where you can start. I think Whistling Woods and all these institutes in India have started acting classes where all these actors sort of go and teach. So I think that would be a good way. My knowledge is very limited to what I've read when it comes to acting, so I would not be able to channelize what you should do. But I would think that if you do drama, you are trained. It looks like all the best actors actually do a drama first, because you have to know how to buy out your lines. You need to sort of look good on camera and all those sort of things. So I would say first try to analyze all the information, try to understand the industry, and then jump into it. And always sort of have a backup ready, because you're on your own when you are an actor. It could take years for you to be successful, or it could take days. You never know. But it's important, I think, for you to sort of keep a backup, because if you see any outsider in today's time, they have a degree. Whether it is all of them, I mean, all the outsiders are sort of decently educated, because they know that it's not a family profession, right? For you, it's going to be something that you will have to go to people, get a job for. So yeah.
Chaitanya, can we take that website thing? You can just explain quickly in 5 minutes the CMC thing. Disha will share her screen. Then you can quickly.
Sure. Let's. Why don't you make a list of all these questions? Let's answer them, because they've.
Yeah.
Because there are several. So Chetan, just keep a tab on the questions and see which one I've answered, and let's answer all of them, because all of them have taken the courage to type. So we must address all of them. And please feel to write more. I'll answer all the questions.
So Chaitanya, I think the screen is being shared.
Yes. So this is the most important website for all of you. I think the first thing you guys should do is log on to this sort of page and sort of analyze information. Now, as you can see, as I rightfully told you, remember I told you that there are MPs, there are MLAs, and there are corporators. Now, with every MP, that is Member of Parliament, he will have, as I rightfully told you, several MLAs working under him. Okay. Now, these several MLAs will further have other people working under them. Now, those people that work under them are called the Nagar Sevaks, as we call them, corporators. But when these corporators work, they work in zone wise. So, if I say Pune cantonment area, it will be further divided into more parts, somewhere 3, somewhere 4 zones. So in Mumbai, generally we have 3. In Pune, we may have more. So as you can see, these are the zonal maps: zone A, zone B, zone C. So what are these zones? Basically, there's not rocket science, to be honest. It's basically the structure and the area of the map. Now, you may wonder how these people map areas. Now, the People's Representation Act has an elaborate explanation about how every area is mapped. Now, how is the area mapped? The area is essentially mapped on the basis of the population. So every 10, 15, 25 years, depending on how the population is changing and what the People's Representation Act say, they extensively change the borders. When they change the borders, the zones get messed up. So you may see that an MLA is standing, but generally when he was contesting a couple of years ago, one vibhag or one area was in his area earlier, and now suddenly somebody else is, it's gone in somebody else's area. That happens because they balance, the check and balance happens of areas and constituencies. Now the next demographic change in India will happen in 2026. Everything will change in Maharashtra according to the population. So wherever the population has not changed, too much changes will not happen. Mumbai city will not have too much change because the population has decreased. Mumbai suburb will have more because population has increased. Pune, on the other hand, may also have some changes. As you can rightfully say that this is extremely important. See these Ward 10, Ward 4, Ward 14, Ward 15, as you can rightfully see, you need to analyze which area you live in. It's like saying which area is your school in, which area is your home in. Don't think of zones politics as something which is not ours. No, it's completely yours, your responsibility, nobody else's responsibility, and we are responsible about our things in this world. I presume you guys come in the first, your sort of institute is faced in the in ward number 10, if I'm not wrong. That's what I've been told. So essentially you need to analyze, and this information we are just throwing to you today, but today I want every one of you to go and analyze this on your own. Identify which zone you lie in, identify who's your Vibhag Pramukh, analyze who's your Khasdar, analyze who's your Amdar. It is extremely important. If somebody asks you who's your Amdar, who's your Khasdar, it should be on your left. You should be able to say it immediately, like it should be on your mind. And how difficult is it to contact your Amdar, Khasdar? Very easy. Now, whether they do your job or no is secondary, but how easy it is, all you have to do is type, go on My Neta Info, and all their data is available. No rocket science. Anybody can get their data. Anybody can get their information. You can write to them. Write them emails if you're part of their constituency and you are facing their problems. Now, you need to know when to approach whom. If you have a problem, see, generally all the problems that concern us as young people, road, sort of work, education, institute areas, noise, pollution, sort of all those complications come in the corporation. MLA would be a little more sort of technical, and MP is just way above and something that we don't need to approach, at least at your age. Now the MPs get something called the MP Lads Fund, something that all of you all should read about. Now what is the MP Lads Fund? Every MP gets a certain amount of money to spend in his area. You can write to the MP that 5 crores or whatever amount is given to you by the central government. So these are a couple of things that we think as young people we want in our area. You can do it, it's a right you can claim. Also, the Pimpri Chinchwad Corporation, as you know, it's separate, has also an informative desk called the Sarthi, right? If I'm not wrong. And that clearly is a platform wherein you can essentially call them and tell them about your problems and they'll solve it. It is known to be efficient. Now, here is the question of accountability. They are giving you a line, they're giving you a helpline, they're giving you a number. Now, how many of you all, I want to see this, please. Okay, after which when I'll make it the gallery screen, I'll want everybody to raise their hands. I want to know, Disha, you can remove the screen now. I want to know how many of you all have called this helpline ever for anything. Sort of raise your hands or open your, sort of your camera, so I can also see every one of you. Sort of raise your hands if you have ever called them. If you haven't, then don't lie. I'm switching sides because there are quite a lot of people. I'm only seeing one person that has done it, and that's Chetan. Rightfully, if Chetan wouldn't have done it, I would have been disappointed. So I'm happy he has called. But having said that, it's a start. So call on the line. I'm sure. See, there are problems in India, and you can always call, and that's the beauty, of Indian progression. When you look at India, so different, right? Whenever there is a problem, we whenever there's anything that we don't like, we come on the streets, we protest, we talk. We don't let any government, whether it's a Congress, BJP, Aam Aadmi Party, doesn't matter which party, we don't let anybody do anything easily. There's a andolan, there is a area which comes, there are people that protest, and that's the beauty of a country. That's why we can never go completely down, because in every step and hurdle of what we do, there is always some sort of problem that the government encounters. So we are equipped with trying to dealing with this. Of course, we are in a very bad phase in our country currently with the COVID and all the problems that are happening. But technically, on the other hand, countries like China are like a sailing ship, wherein they're just sailing. There is no stopping. They're just cruising. But what happens if you hit an iceberg suddenly? Then suddenly the ship sinks and the country's gone to dogs. But India doesn't face that. The whole notion of telling you this is that you can call, you can complain, and make sure that you always complain. Make sure you always be accountable, because when you complain, you're accountable, you're moreover active as a citizen. And double sort of participation is extremely important. You cannot stay mum and say, I cannot be political. I mean, this statement, I don't want to get into politics, will not work. I'm not interested in politics, will not work henceforward. So please make sure you do. Now let us answer the pending questions.
Chaitanya, we can take one or two questions more, and
Sure.
then what we can do is you can type your organization's website in the chat box so that everyone has an access to it, and also your email address. So
Sure.
if anyone wants to, because even I have a couple of questions which they want to ask you how to start your own organization in health. So they can get in touch with you
But
directly.
yeah. What we can do something. We'll pass a Google form. Whoever's interested can we can keep another seminar for whoever wants to start something, because we have a lineup of people that have trained to do this.
Yeah.
Also, another thing is, I saw some question of what's the most difficult thing that you face. I'll tell you what's the most difficult thing that was faced. The most difficult thing that was faced essentially was the fact that social media is so difficult. If you see the kind of work that we've done since 2018, it has been so difficult for us to represent that crowd and get people to follow our sort of Instagram, because in today's day and age, where Instagram is all about putting ads, and sort of even after you do work extensively hard, it's very difficult to get the current amount of followers and that sort of boost. And that is one problem that I've been facing, which is the social media Instagram mess, because there is something that is extremely difficult to sort of manage and do in today's digital age. Other than that, the website is where we operate from, is where all the work is done. So we don't really concentrate so much on social media. But I've realized in this lockdown, if we don't, people think that you are not doing enough work. That's the notion that goes around. If you have 5,000 followers, उत्तम काम करत है. And if you don't have 500 or 600, अरे फक्त 500 आहे बाबा, that notion. So that needs to change, but of course we can't change it. But I can tell you one thing. You can go follow the page. It's called markyourpresence.org.in, and the link of which is also available in my bio, which is Chaitanya Prabhu on my Instagram. So if you find it difficult to find Mark Your Presence, because there may be other Mark Your Presence, you could sort of go onto my Instagram and click on the link. Yeah, it would be I'll be highly grateful to have you guys over there, since you're so interested. And let's take, Chetan, why don't you select one question? We have so many of them. Okay, let's take two questions. Chetan, why don't you check another question, which is sort of
regarding preparation entrance exams. You are also preparing for your entrance exams, right? So one student, I think it's Shreyashri or something, they want to ask you how are you preparing for it, and if you can share something on that. So because I believe these students are also preparing for their entrance exams also in coming year, or maybe this year as well.
So to be honest, I think prepping for entrance exam is not a 1 month, 2 month thing. It is, I think, a collective effort of you doing a lot of things together. Also depends which entrance exam you're doing. If you're probably doing some CA, CFA, then the ball game is completely different. If you're doing a medical, then the ball game is different. I did law, and now probably I'll do a public policy entrance exam. So it will be limited to public policy. So it depends. It's very subjective, and the way of learning depends on every person. But I would say that its entrance exam is something that you need to prep from before. A 1 month, 2 month encounter crash course doesn't get you a good score. Um, Somebody spoke about the books behind me. Yes, Elon Musk. I think
So I've put the organization's website over here, Chaitanya.
yes, yes.
I
If
think
you
this
can,
is
Chetan, if you can also copy paste the URL of the Market Presence Instagram, it will be great. Till then, I'll just answer uh, Elon Musk question because I love Elon Musk. I see behind you that you have read about Elon Musk, and then we have encouraged people in our country. Yes, I think, as I rightfully pointed out, right, all of us have the potential inbuilt. Indians are programmed to be excelling in life, I feel. All we have to do is sort of work in this country and to be able to do it. And I'm sure we can have our own Elon Musk here. And I'm sure in this chat also, I'm pretty sure in this conversation also, I'm sure somebody can become as big as Elon Musk. All we have to do is sort of direct ourselves doing it. That's what he did and not be bothered. Also, America's land of opportunity, so it was easier for him to do it there. If he was in India, he wouldn't have been able to do it so fast.
Chaitanya. There are many questions. I understand. All students are really curious to know more from you and about your work. However, with keeping the time restrictions in mind, what best we can do is I have put your website and Instagram ID over here. And apart from that, if you could share an email address wherein students can get in touch with you, that would be great. And that is how if
Chetan, you can put my email ID that I have sent to you. ChaitanyaMYP is good enough. Oh wait, I'll put it out.
Yeah. So everyone, if you have any questions apart from these that Chaitanya has already addressed, I would sincerely request you to put him on his email, or you can get in touch with his organization over here, which is Mark Your Presence. Chaitanya is based out of Mumbai, and he's really accessible for all the things that you need him. And he has already told you that if you want to start any organization or you need any guidance, he will be there for you guys.
So everyone who had a question and I have not answered it, right now you could copy paste your questions. My Instagram handle is given here. This is the Mark Your Presence is operated by the team, so they'll be accessible to you. If you want to address it to me personally, my Instagram handle is Chaitanya Prabhu _Prabhu. You can send me a DM with your question. I'll answer it right away. After, of course, we end this.
Chaitanya, have you put your email address?
Oh, I put it, but I think.
Yeah, you had to address it to everyone. Then.
Yeah. Oh God. This is one email ID. I'm also sending you. Please sort of send it here, and then you could also CC me.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, you could send it. You could send everything that you have on this email ID. Address the email to me, and Anushka, I will answer your question. You could just send me this probably on Instagram, and I'll answer it because we're running short on time, and I don't want Chetan to be at inconvenience.
So Chaitanya, there is only one email address you have put, right? myp.register.
Yeah, they can reach out there. Yeah, they can reach out there. I think that
Okay. So all those who have questions, you can write it at myp.register@gmail.com.
you can also send it. What you can do is you can send it to me and you can CC the question to myp.register@gmail.com so that just in case I forget, my team will inform me and I'll answer the question. So just address it to this email ID, which is my personal email ID, followed by which you could sort of do that. One
Okay.
second, let me just. You can also feel free to sort of send us a DM on Instagram. I think uh, that seems like the easiest way out.
So Chaitanya, after your closing remarks, we'll move to the end of the session. If uh, you would like to say anything at the closing of the session for address to everyone, because a lot of students were also seeing it live on YouTube. So everyone out together over there, you could say something.
Just let me just type. Yeah, thank you so much for having me here. And Chetan, thank you so much for extending this invitation. Uh, you are part of the fellow batch of being a UN awardee, so it is an honor to especially do this and especially talking to every one of you. I hope all of you all understood what I said and take this deep in today because the idea is so that more and more people sort of register and come out to vote. If there is any way in which I can help you, please do let me know. You have my email ID, you have my organization website, you have my Instagram, you have all the details that are technically required to get in touch. I'm extremely accessible to everyone. And that's one of the reasons why I've been able to do what I've been doing. So please feel free to reach out. If you have a plan in mind, instead of calling me and telling me about your plan, email me everything and then set a time so that we can actually talk. So it's more saves more time and moreover brings more credibility to what you're doing. And I'm happy to do that. Thank you for being here. And a large amount of people were here for the conversation, and I'm sure a lot of other people are listening on YouTube as well. So thank you for listening. I think time is the most important thing in today's time, and all of you have given me more than an hour. So thank you so much. I hope you learned something new and I hope you keep learning something new. And make sure tomorrow's morning paper is read. Sit with your fathers, sit with your mothers, sit with your grandparents, and please read the paper. Learn that one habit for them, it will take you long. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chaitanya. With this, we wrap this session and we will again come back with some exciting sessions in the next week. Okay. I will just drop the usual feedback form link that we do, and then you guys can log out. So this is the link. Everyone who's present over here, this is the link of the form. And see you soon next month as well. Okay. Thank you, Chaitanya. Thank you, everyone.